Let the proposition be pressed to its most imperial, primitive, second order, derivative manifestation of antecedent structuring processes. What presents itself as the material world may be more rigorously understood as the superficial stratum, perceptible sediment of an underlying non-manifest regime of coordination. Prior to their consolidation into tangible phenomena, events are schematized within a pre-material domain populated by organizing agencies. One might designate these as fields of governance. These do not coincide merely with institutional or juridical, but rather constitute architectures of adjudication embedded within cognition itself. They function as meta-organizational matrices that allocate probabilities, legitimate certain logic, and logistics systematically, that's what I relegating them to statistical insignificance. Within this framework, matter operates as an executional ordinary queue and contingency, economic ascent, social mobility and coupling, a downstream pattern of upstream patterning. The confines of the corporate sphere, assuming algorithmic, archetypal, and nomadic forms. It is comprised of iterative directives and pattern constraints circulating through institutional apparatuses and structures interiorized in schemas of belief. Subjects experience pain, yet the horizon of available options, pre-structures, and curates delimited the indivisible syntax of permissions and prohibitions. Embedded within the syntax is a distributive logic that may be characterized as quota-like. The dispersion of asymmetrical options in different layers of population are given different access, obviously. Here's the continuation starting after permissions and prohibitions. Embedded within the syntax is a distributive logic that may be characterized as quota-like. The dispersion of potentiality is asymmetrical. Distinct segments of the populations are endowed with disproportionate levels of distributive power, and what may be termed tokens, units of condensed authorizations. That's not just a monetary instrument, whether digital or material, but reputational capital, network access, and narrative legitimacy. Currency, in this sense, represents the most formalized and crystallized expression of a more general economy of permission. The accumulation of tokens induces a transformation in the local topology of reality. Where token density is high, resistance attenuates. Obstacles are preemptively neutralized, pathways are smoothed, and opportunities appear participatorily. It's like a governing field. Registering this concentration recalibrates probabilistic distribution in favor of the token bearer. Conversely, conditions of scarcity in the operative field, possibilities contract, exposure to risk intensifies, and deviations encounter penalties. Inequality that cannot be reduced to disparity alone. It assumes an ontological dimension modulating the texture, permeability, and affordance structure of lived reality. Crucially, these governance fields do not rely exclusively on Stoics and Stoicism. It's predicated on processes of internalization. Normative templates like legitimate aspiration, credible success, or desirable affiliation are assimilated pre-reflectively. Subjects become conduits for the reproduction of these, enforcing them without the necessity of explicit codification. Governance thus acquires an autopoietic character, and we're simultaneously an agent of our own regulation and regulating the others. Nowhere formally regulated, but ubiquitously digital, intensified in these dimensions, algorithms, and transmuted into capital, recursively amplifying as capital begetting visibility, engendering influence, and reorganizing the future allocation of capital. The feedback loop emerges in which accumulations compound, generating an increasingly ever-changing, self-optimizing cybernetic ancient, while attenuating marginal deceptive signals. Yet these structuring agencies, these governance fields, are not omnipotent in any transcendent or mythological sense. They are emergent foundations arising from this kind of cognition, and it's coerced, operationalized, and technologically instantiated. Authority in this schema is not centralized but diffusely distributed across innumerable micro acts. Each gesture, each transaction, endorsement, or omission functions as a minimal yet accumulative prevailing architecture. A pivotal implication that follows: privilege is not solely a matter of material possession, but narrative encoding.